We can't hear you. I don't know if that's intentional.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I can't hear the room though.
I
Can you?
can't hear the room. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I can't hear the room.
It's not me alone then.
I can't tell if they can hear us though.
Michael, you can hear us, right?
Now we can. Yes. Now we can hear you.
Did you not go?
I did. I'm gonna check YouTube real quick.
I did. In my virtual, Lisa, I see us. Hi, Lisa, you're virtual. You live? You are live?
Live.
You are everything.
All right.
You are ready to go.
Good evening, everyone. This is the October meeting of the Community Board to the Queens Community Board 2 Land Use and Housing Committee. Welcome, everyone. I'm Christine Hunter, the chair. This is Pramit Kumar, the vice chair, and Deb Weiner, the district manager.
And Marion Ingrado, my assistant.
Okay, so we have a few different things on the agenda. I'm not sure why this new business is at the way back,
We just knew.
but it seems like it should probably be.
It probably should have been up there, but
Anyway.
put it under there because
Okay.
last minute today.
That's fine, but we might just go in order
Yes, that's
before we
fine.
make our decisions. Okay, so is someone here from 21 to speak about 2143 45th Avenue?
Yes, that's me.
Great. You can sit in the chair at the table now.
Or you can.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
you so much.
Or do you want to?
Appreciate it.
Something was sitting here.
To them.
Okay.
If you sit there, people on camera can see
That's
the front of you.
Yeah, right.
That makes sense.
No, it's a baseball that day and I didn't get the quote message, huh? I didn't get the color.
That's a plan.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that why?
That's why. That's
Oh,
why.
this is so annoying. I thought we were just gonna.
the Yankees.
Sorry? Okay, sure. Could the person on who's virtual, whose name is in Chinese, tell us who you are? Because we can't read those letters. Because they're not called.
Oh, hi there. Sorry about that. I'm just a resident of Long Island City. I'm just trying to kind of get a feel of how these meetings run because I think that I want to attend one soon.
Okay, and your name is?
Cam Kamari is my full name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, you're on.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Matthew Rao. I'm an architect with a practice in Chelsea, mostly doing residential work. I'm working on a townhouse at 2143 45th Avenue, which is in the Hunters Point Historic District.
Right.
Lovely block of.
Please speak loud and just remember we have an
brownstones.
audience and
Yes,
we're
where's
recording.
the cam or the I guess the microphone's probably over there. So essentially, what we would like to do, I do have a little presentation here. I don't know how helpful it'll be to the screen.
You can log on and we can have you share your screen.
I've also got a clap track too. I don't know how. Might be a little more
We'd
complicated
like to
now.
get a laptop and have someone log in from the laptop.
I just-
It's
I-
probably easier if
just
you
to-
sign in so that we can get you on.
Okay,
And you do that from there?
I cannot from here. I could probably go on Wi-Fi. Actually, Therese from my office, I think, is logged in.
Okay.
She may be able to share screen, actually.
So I did just try and it says only the host can share. So if you give me some permissions, I can share the presentation.
The second one down.
Right there?
I'm back.
Right there, right there.
Yeah.
Try to find.
Okay.
You should have sharing privileges now.
Okay, great. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is the townhouse in the block, kind of highlighted in red there, the Hunters Point Historic District, where essentially what we're hoping to do is replace the windows at the front. The existing windows are fiberglass, and some of them aren't working too well, and owners having issues opening and closing, fiberglass expands and contracts. So we're hoping to replace with wood windows that are clad in aluminum. So if we go down to the next slide, just a few general images of the front of the townhouse. And I guess we can go to the next slide.
The existing windows are 2 over 2.
They're 2 over 2.
Is
2
that
over
the
2,
historic?
which is the historic profile. I think we actually have the landmarks photos as well on the next slide. But it is the historic configuration,
Okay.
2 over 2. The previous fiberglass are also 2 over 2. We're just hoping to upgrade to wood with aluminum flat. So yeah, well, the images there, I think it's the, yeah, one in the middle there. So if you go to the next slide, on the left is the existing and on the right is the proposed, nearly identical. Doing the same exact configuration. We're not removing any brick. We're not removing any of the sills or the lintels or anything. Essentially just replacing kind, but with upgraded material. If we go to the next slide, I think we've got a few more details of what we would like to do. The only difference is when we're going from the fiberglass to the aluminum cladding, we're actually working with landmarks to get a more historically accurate brick mold profile. So you can kind of see on the right, although I think we've got some images that'll probably show it a little bit better, but there's an extra little shadow line around it, which is more typical of Italianate brownstones.
Right, they make us do that here in Sunnyside Gardens too.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, but we want to be historically accurate and you know, of course, improve it. So if we go to the next slide, just a few images of the windows from both the exterior and interior. I think the cross-section cutaways are a little bit helpful to see, where it is wood, it just has the aluminum cladding for maintenance purposes, because wood windows always are a maintenance nightmare. So that's just the I guess profile. The color is green, which is going to match exactly the existing. I think we actually have somewhere a little color chip showing it against the existing, which we were able to find a nearly identical match. The existing is the fiberglass, and that's the new color chip of the aluminum from Marvin. It looks a little bit different in the screen image there, but it's identical. And I think we could just quickly look at the cross-section drawings. Not to go too far into the weeds on the brick mold, but we can just show you really quick. The brick mold has it's that little piece at the top that sort of covers the gap between the frame of the window and the brick. There's a little bit of a flourish in the brick mold that gives that sort of a shadow line gap, and the existing is just flat. I think Sure, that's the existing. So we're keeping the same dimensions and profile, just adding a little shadow line. We can go to the next slide. Which basically is showing the same thing, but in a vertical sort of cross section, or I guess horizontally across the window where you can see the same details. Next slide. The one other thing that we're making sure to do is the new glass is a single pane of glass. It's not the separated lights,
Right.
but the window we're using has a little spacer bar in it, so it gives the impression of being sort of this glass, which is a more historically accurate way to do it. We can go to the next slide. Some other windows on the block, some of them are wood, some of them have already been converted to aluminum clad wood. But we're keeping in that same, panels.
You mean since landmarking, other people have gotten approval for the aluminum clad wood?
Yes.
So why
Yes.
are they making, that seems ridiculous that you're here. I mean, I'm sorry to say that.
I'm very happy here, of course, but I think it was because Landmarks doesn't have the ability to approve at the staff level if we're converting from one material to a different material. So it goes through community board within Landmarks.
All right, well, thank you very much. Does anybody have
Big break.
questions?
And
So I don't know.
unless there's any feedback or thoughts.
The library.
Yeah, I
Thank you
think, I
very
mean,
much.
I think we would probably take the position that this should be a landmark policy if they're
You
gonna,
might want to write a letter.
yeah, it's,
This isn't worth anyone's time.
right,
It's
okay.
one of those things we do it pretty frequently where.
Yeah, I could take that.
Yeah, in any case, our board policy is that for this level of, application, the committee can make a recommendation, so you don't have to come back to a full board meeting. I can say with some conviction.
Fantastic. I did mention there's another board meeting, okay, but
Right, and we'll draft the letter to landmarks, and we could just add it into the,
Yeah, that sounds good.
okay,
awesome.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, 4518 39th Avenue.
Yes, here, to Mariaga. Yeah, more or less, it's the same gentleman with landmarks. My client is trying to propose to install a split system in the building. One is a split system, the other, the roof is in, the snake tiles is in bad condition, so we want to replace the snake roof. Same time, same material. Thirdly, we want us to install some skylight on the roof, since it's replacing the roof. So we want to put 3 skylights on the roof, which space is on the rear yard property. That and the mini split system. Where there's 2 condensers, there's one on the side yard, one on the rear yard. And the question comes out to that, we're running some exposed conduit covers that run the refrigeration line and the power line to the indoor split system. Of course, Landmark's concerned with that, how it's going to affect the appearance of the house. I guess that's why I'm here.
Now, are you the
Architect.
architect?
Yes.
Okay. So, does any of this actually have to be combined?
Well, once you
The skylights.
the skylights, yeah, and the air conditioning technically, no, because I'm under the 3 tons. What, since we filing it and it's landmark, the department needs landmark approval. We see on to the next step with DOB, with the bond.
And are the skylights in conjunction with making the attic? I mean, are you doing interior renovations to make the
No,
attic livable or what?
Just to ventilate the attic space, still have a drop ladder in the attic.
No,
Yeah.
it's expensive, but.
Well, it's for storage
Or is-
also, it's housing storage.
Okay. Do you have, are you able to show these? on the screen?
I have a line, but I don't have connection to the Wi-Fi. And so I bought net guess. I don't know if that's your guys.
Well, I don't know if that's easier than.
Next thing is try to do it. It's hard.
Oh, I'm on it.
Never mind. I'll print it back.
So I guess while you're finding it, I'll just say to the committee that I think this food system
Yeah,
is something that we're gonna be seeing more and more applications for, since both the city and the state are prioritizing them, incentivizing them. They're, I mean, I personally, it's, I hate to make construction in regards more expensive, but if you went inside and ran the conduit inside, it would be less visible as a house, right? Is that not correct?
that's absolutely correct. I would just have to pour some interior hose, and then box it in and run the conduits inside, one of the inside the house. And That this is a
So
single
has
use.
landmarks recommended that to you?
They mentioned it, to be honest with you, they did mention it. I was thinking I could match the bricks. The babes, which is kind of color, it comes in. It just takes it to blend.
What I'm seeing from the landmark side is that they say that the flexibility to put in vents and vented units
Right.
can be minimally visible if it's not possible to make them non.
And what I'm saying is,
Try to run run the conduits.
it is possible to make
It
it
is
less
possible.
visible than what he's proposing.
Yes.
But I wish that this would be a more, again, I think this should be a landmarks policy and not something that we're being asked to opine on.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of appearance, it's covered by privet throughout the tree level. So if it's, the main concern is appearance. Why is it that?
Are you the-
Pardon?
Are you the?
Oh, no. Yes.
Okay.
But it's.
Well, I think
covered by
landmarks
privet.
point of view would be that
You wouldn't see it.
hedges are not a permanent, anything that affects the exterior of the house. You can't count on the hedge.
But I have pictures in the winter and you don't see, I only see things with the privet branches and the thing.
Well,
And I just went by today and you can't see anything. Oh, I don't.
do you want me to say this?
Yes.
Goes into the neighbors.
Yeah, Lisa?
Unmute Lisa.
Hi, I did. I just unmuted. So we've seen a couple of these in the past. I mean, as long as they're not in front, as long as they're have something surrounding them so they don't show. If it's, I don't see your proposal. I didn't, there's no electronic
Yeah,
version. I
this-
didn't see it. But if it's in the back and it's disguised, it's really, if it's the front and it's showing. Also, the other complaint is that the compressors make noise for your neighbors. I've heard that too.
Yeah, it has a distance, because it's a corner lot. So the only neighbor is the neighbor on the left-hand side. Which is, this is facing,
Does it face the street?
45th Street.
So it's facing the street.
Yes. it is-
Yeah, no, that I can't even imagine that landmarks would approve that.
Yeah, especially if there's the option to do, so wait, I'm sorry, which is facing 45th?
Yes, we did. And this is facing the rear yard.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
In terms of, let me give you a site plan. Site plan, this is, I'm sorry, 46. This is where the condenser would be, and this is where the conduit would be.
Okay, so in fact, the side, if I'm reading this correctly. The sidewalk is right here.
Exactly,
So the side of the house does face 45th, it's a corner house.
corner house.
And the side of it does face 46th
It's
Street.
face
So
46, and then this is the rear of the, well, this is another side, not rear yard, but it's a side yard, but it's facing the inner courtyard.
And the skylights are on the back of
On the back of the house.
But did you do sort of photos to show
Yeah,
whether or
this
not
is-
you could see?
Yeah, this is it. This is the photo. This is the side. This is the
This
side.
is the front.
This
No,
is
but
the
is
front.
there a photo showing what the
Uh,
back roof
Right here. The back roof right here.
from the street?
From the, no, this is the inner courtyard.
Yeah.
There's another house over here, and there's a courtyard over. All this is.
Yeah. Sorry? I would request that you do a clearer drawing.
Okay.
So, I mean, just in comparison to what we usually see.
Okay,
We usually see a drawing that shows more clearly how the house sits in relation to the other houses on the block
okay,
and in relation to the sidewalks.
okay.
And that we would need to see a photo from the sidewalk, looking back up here to
Okay.
to the roof.
To the side.
And I also think, based on Lisa's comment and what we understand landmarks priorities, that that you look at ways to to not have any of the conduit running along the outside of the house if there's
Right.
an alternative. And an alternative scheme for the split system that, truly minimizes its effect on the exterior.
And respect to the condensation unit, the outdoor units. It's mounted on the ground level. Basically, that could be screened off.
I mean, you're far from the only person that has convinced me. Yes, I've been convinced, so I don't really know what to say. What are other people doing?
Excuse me?
They're putting, I mean, there's condensers outside the whole lot. Yeah, of course. They're putting in the houses. Yeah, yes, yeah.
So the basic question is the conduit public? That's all we're looking at this. The mountain on the
Right.
face of the.
Right.
the wall.
Again, I would request that you come back with a clearer presentation. I think very much we want to see it too.
Okay.
And that you try to do more to demonstrate that you're minimizing the effect of the school system. Once it's.
One of the recommendations said that you could put it parallel to the downspouts. So let's see.
Is that what landlords told you? Are there other questions? I'd love to see it. Yeah, I think, and if you can, send it in advance to, the office, if that's the best way to do it, to be sure that we can bring it up. Then we can bring it up on the screen, which is really fair to everybody to be arguing.
Yeah, this is my first time, so.
So the one we invite you to present.
Yeah.
What's that?
So we invite you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll work on, we'll look at it on Google Maps.
Sorry?
Oh, you can look at it on Google Maps. There's a private driveway separating that building and the next door neighbors.
Yeah.
So, in terms of muffling sound, there's not much to do because it's an empty
Yeah.
parking lot.
I mean, that all may be true. I still think in fairness.
That's proven.
Up to the
That's
committee
proven.
that we should get a clearer site diagram. of
Oh,
the
sure,
situation.
maps.
November.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. All right. Phipps.
Yeah.
Hi.
Everyone, my name is Steve Ward. I'm from 6,000. From mega contract our Barnett development, which is from Barnett Avenue between 15th and 52nd Street. Affordable housing. So we presented to the
Please speak a lot louder.
sorry.
We're in the blower and we're recording, so we ask that you do that. Thank you.
We presented to the committee in June regarding Article 11. And we appreciate your support at that point. And we're here to give a construction update. I know how things have been going. After another,
Hello, everyone. My grandfather always told us that my family is booming voices.
We appreciate it.
I hope it's not a problem for
No,
everyone here.
Not at all.
Thank you. My name is Elon Peskin. I'm from Mega Contracting Group. We're a Queens-based general contractor and developer. Nearly our entire portfolio is of the construction of affordable housing, and we partnered with Phipps on the Barnett project. So as you mentioned, we started construction in early July, and I'm pleased to say that things have been going well so far. It's a 2-year construction schedule. We're on schedule. We're about 15% complete with the project. We're finishing the foundation and are beginning to build the first and second floors of the building. What we're here tonight to do is, in addition to giving you an update and thanking you again for your support in Article 11 and to support on the project as a whole. It's also to request a letter of support for extended, or I should say, adjusted work hours on Saturdays. So the department, the buildings department has given us a permit for Saturday work from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We are here requesting a letter of support to start work at 7 o'clock on Saturdays. The reason for that is the regular start time for work in these types of construction projects is 7 o'clock. And when that start time moves back, there's it's just a law of diminishing returns with the amount of production we're able to get out of the work. We use Saturdays, first in the event that we finish the project faster. We understand that there's an element of inconvenience that comes along with every construction project. And so we always want to finish as quickly as possible, not only to bring more affordable housing units online faster, but also to get out of everyone's hair. And secondly, once we get into the colder months, sometimes when it's raining or snowing, we may lose days because of weather, and we use Saturdays as those makeup days. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is anybody here who lives in Phipps? I mean, we do have some board members that live in.
Here, guys.
I live near Phipps, but I don't. I mean, I think that obviously the affected people are the residents of the north, and that's like Phipps 2 or something.
Sure. So across the street is Sunnyside Gardens. And then our west neighbor is a bus depot. And
Right.
to the east, we have east neighbors, but it's all light manufacturing and industrial business.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I think we're
Sure.
familiar with
Yeah.
the site.
Okay.
I'm saying that, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, no, it's your neighbors on the south. So the people who who live in Phipps Towers, who
Sure.
face the back side are the ones who are going to experience the noise. So can you talk about what kind of noise it's going to create for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the noisiest part of the project, or I should say the most noxious part, which is when we had to do pile driving in the beginning of the project, bless you, is totally done. So the types of work that we're going to be doing are basically where there's going to be some use of hammers, saws, things like that. And so the work that we're doing right now is concrete, and then we'll be moving into masonry work, which involves, some use of saws and hammers and things like that. And then once the building is topped off, then we'll be doing a lot of the interior work, which will be required.
What's the dust mitigation?
Sure, good question. So we have, so the DEP requires us to have a noise and dust mitigation plan, and which is posted on the front of the site. So the primary use for this type of work, or the primary dust mitigation, is spraying water. But the primary dust mitigation that we have for this type of work.
My assumption is that if the few days remaining where people can go outside and enjoy the weather, that would be the main difference between the weekend and the weekdays, that people are more likely to be out, assuming the weather's good.
Sure. So as a part of the environmental program of the project, there's an environmental engineer on site at all times with air monitoring equipment, making sure that the particles in the air don't exceed the allowable limits. And so we take that extremely seriously. They're on site whenever work is being done, and we take every measure necessary to make sure that we're staying within those limits. Okay.
Okay, Danielle and then Michael. Sorry.
What about, deliveries? There's a building being built not across the street from me right now, and they work it, all the way inside of it. And it is noise, but the other thing is that there's traffic, delivery, trucks blocking traffic, trucks blocking pedestrians.
Sure.
Which is somewhat less concerning almost on Saturday, but still, it's still going on,
Mhm.
you know, by the time people are up.
Yeah, that's a totally valid comment. We love having neighbors who are manufacturers. Also, sometimes in the morning, it can get a little clogged up, and even sometimes when I arrive, I want to make sure we're not the ones causing any bottlenecks, because sometimes, you know, the glass factory, the folks next to them might be getting a delivery, so sometimes it can be hard to tell who's responsible for what. We are blessed at this site that we have a big wide gate. I want to say it's a pretty much if you're approaching Barnett from the west side, I always forget if it's 50 or 50 seconds, so excuse me. So our objective is that any delivery showing up, we open the gate and get them inside the site as quickly as possible and get them off the street.
Michael?
Thanks. Yeah, a few questions. So first, I'm just for my own understanding, I just wanted to get a sense of what's being like what I was being asked for. And so as I understand it, and this is what I want to get clarity on, Monday through Friday, the construction starts at 7. That's normal. Saturday, you have permission to start at 10 and you want a letter of support to start at 7. Is that what's being asked for?
Exactly correct.
Okay, and Sunday is not on the table? Like there's no construction on Sunday, or what's the?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And so in our history, we've needed to pull permits on Sundays. I'd say that's very rare.
Okay, thanks. And then you mentioned, it might help you finish faster. I'm just wondering, like, I'm just thinking about all the hours in a week, and I'm wondering how much faster it would finish if you started at 7 versus 10 on Saturday. I'm wondering if you can give us any sense of like how much faster. Like, is there a way we can think about this in terms of like days to completion or like percentage time? Because I think the trade-off, right, is like the duration of the total construction versus the additional disruption on Saturday. So curious, yeah, if you can speak to that in a kind of very concrete way.
Sure. I would never want to make a commitment that we can't keep. And so a lot of that depends on the winter weather. If we get a lot of snow and rain, I'm not gonna knock on wood.
Sure.
So hoping that we don't, then that will allow for us to use more Saturdays to advance the job faster and increase the chances of finishing earlier. I can't guarantee that because there are so many factors at play, the weather being a major one. So in terms of the hours, the other thing that is kind of like industry specific, and I don't want to bore anyone with too many details of the construction industry, but the culture is such that it's very rare for anyone to work beyond 3 o'clock on a 3 or 4 o'clock on a Saturday. And workers are just much less likely to even show up for a shorter workday. So on paper, it makes sense that it's the same number of hours, but it's just shifted later on Saturday. I understand that. Unfortunately, the reality is that if workers see that the hours start at 10 o'clock, then they just don't show up. And what happens then is we don't have a day to make up on any lost production during the week. And that 2-year construction schedule becomes longer, which of course we all want to avoid. Just to be blunt, right, that we're a fairly big outfit with overhead, right? Being on a project costs us a lot of money. So we want to deliver the projects to our client as quickly as possible, for everyone's benefit.
Okay, thanks for that. And just one other question. Is there some way in which like work can be allocated such that the early morning work is less disruptive than later work? Like, is there some flexibility there that maybe you could speak to? I'm curious if there's a way that earlier work could be made somehow less noxious, although still useful, and then the like more disruptive work might be kind of later in the day.
Sure. Um,
Maybe that's not possible. I don't know very much about.
That's a fair comment, and we can, what I would say is, we can absolutely make our best efforts to make sure that the work happening in the earlier hours is as quiet as possible. We also, we have, let's say, 5 supervisors on site on any given time, usually less on Saturdays because there are fewer guys on site, fewer people on site. And it can be difficult to control the 50 or 70 workers on site from turning on a circular saw. And I wouldn't want to say that we can absolutely do that 100% of the time and then break that promise because a carpenter turned on a saw. And to a neighbor, that would look like we're being disingenuous, which we certainly don't want. I can absolutely make the commitment that we will do our best to plan so that the quieter work can be done in the morning and make our best efforts to make sure that that work plan is included.
Okay, thanks.
Same supervisors or?
Oh, yeah, yes,
So that's
yes.
that message. you get to the supervisor.
Oh, no question. They'll have any answers to it later. Yes.
Parisia?
Hi, I'm sorry, I can't hear everybody quite well, so I just in case this wasn't addressed yet. How are you going to go about letting the neighbors know that if this does happen, how are you going to notify the neighbors?
We're open to suggestion. We can post signs, at the job site. We can, distribute flyers. Phipps, of course, has close ties to the community, and I'm sure Phipps would be happy to help try to get the message out.
Yeah, I think that should be Phipps's responsibility, frankly. And I guess I do have a concern for the people who live in the apartments, the north side of Phipps that are facing, Barnett. And I don't know if there's, if there's something that could, that Phipps could come up with to improve their quality of life or something that they have, I mean, there have been a lot of concerns expressed in the past about the upkeep in the existing Phipps houses. And so, it would be nice to be able to ameliorate the suffering that is,
I will say to that point, and virtually we were joined by our chief of staff, Matthew Washington, who's an expert at outreach and tenant communication. The tenant association at Sunnyside Gardens and our property management team meets regularly.
Wait, when you say Sunnyside Gardens, you mean what used to be called Phipps Garden Apartments?
I believe so. So we are regularly in contact with them. Our phones are always open to them, whatever concerns they have.
Have there been many complaints to date on this construction site?
I don't believe so.
No, there have been very few that we've received.
No violations?
No, we haven't gotten any violations. We've had spot checks from the buildings department. On each occasion, they've done a thorough inspection and have not given us any comments or violations.
Yeah, Sheila. And boards will this spot. But the one concern that came up to us was from the residents of the Phipps Gardens. And things that were due to be very immaculate. And I'd love to hear from the health manager's office because I understand there have been complaints. And so I'm a little concerned that this is going to be here without outreach already to the improvement department space staff who maybe even get up and probably wanting to work on sites like this and send or have meetings, etc. So as much as there may be a negative response, that there wasn't any outreach done,
to those residents, based on this in advance of coming here. It was a little concerning to me since that was where the complaints came from, the consumer even going into this one. So I'd like to hear why you made that choice. And I would also, if it's okay, if you hear the council member's office, that's up to you. It's the chair.
Yeah, you're from Yvonne's office? Yeah, sure.
Sure. Hello? I mean, I can start with the question, and thank you for the question. As Hugh mentioned, can you all hear me?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Matthew Washington, Vice President and Chief of Staff at Phipps Houses. And thanks for the question. Actually, tonight was really about to understand the process. When I reached out to Debbie, I was asking what the process is that the community board wants. And so Debbie had suggested show up tonight. And so Ilan sort of talked about the goal, which was the letter of support, but we really wanted to understand what process the board wanted us to go through for consideration of this. And so if the board says that the standard process is talk to residents or otherwise, we're happy to do whatever the recommendations are, but really wanted to understand your process and how we follow your process appropriately so that we can do the things that you would like us to do before getting your approval, which is only appropriate.
Yes.
You have to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, so Nicola really wants to be staff. So we've been in touch with Fitz throughout this project. Certainly got the pressure. This happens with construction sites, understandably, but certainly an increase in rats, burning, going into existing fixed building, moving to construction site. Noise is certainly been brought up to us a number of times. There was a lot of concerns about sites.
You're gonna have to get closer with the table.
Is it really that?
Yes.
Yes. I was shocked.
It's not you, it's the table.
So, definitely a lot of concerns expressed by residents to our office, right? So, a number of them were about noise, some of them were about site safety. There was something I was just trying to bring up on my computer from the Office of Emergency Management about an issue that's been about the worker felt 15 feet, that was resolved very quickly, but we've done a lot of incoming. I think the council members, I believe, has been about flooding in the existing developments and whether this is implemented drainage plan that they're come up with. And I think that's when what she said all along, I would approve and support their work here as long as they can bring residents and addressing the laws and so if the drainage plan has been implemented to actually bring relief to the existing residents, that's something Christy mentioned, doing something for the existing residents there, something to help their quality of life a little bit, and that's front and center.
So was this is, I don't remember a discussion of a drainage plan. So this is flooding in the basements of the property?
So this is flooding that impacts all the first floor residents, sewage back up into their apartments, and also in the common areas. And in the common areas. When the council member lives in Fitz, this happened in her apartment. This has been a long-standing issue that many of the tenants brought to our office. So, the commissioner there, multiple, one time there, and multiple conversations with him about this. So this is one single thing that Fitz can do. To really give back to the residents there, it is to address the flooding issues and the conflict.
And what was it?
The ongoing maintenance.
Okay, so I guess, we would like a report from Phipps, on how, with the timetable and the report about how many measures that were agreed on between the residents and, you know, I think there was something in writing. Please remind me. There was an agreement, right, that went with our approval about the maintenance of Phipps Plus.
Yeah. Sure. We're happy to share updates with you on that. And I didn't hear everything. I'm not sure who was there from Councilman Rawan's office. I didn't hear everything that was said. I did hear mention of her being a former resident, and her apartment did get flooded after Hurricane Iris. There was a lot of flooding in the area, and so
Yeah, her chief of staff is here and he said there have been many, a number of complaints and particularly in relation to flooding and that supposedly there's some kind of drainage plan that Phipps has. So we would like to improve the flood, to ameliorate the flooding that's taken place. And so we'd like a report on the status of that.
Sure. So in terms of drainage, there, have been instances of pooling primarily after major storms that have impacted the area, and there have been no reports of that recently. There is no drainage plan. What we discussed, which we notified the council member's office about, is we conducted an initial engineering review. We're happy to share the report with you, which we will do some clearing of the catch basins, as well as checking through some piping to do due diligence. So I'm happy to, Debbie, send you the report that was done, which leads to further action. We are hiring a vendor to actually do the work based on the assessment by the engineer for what steps should be taken, which we're actively engaged in.
So I'm looking at this agreement from December 3rd, 2020, when we approved the ULURP for the zoning change for the new project. And there is a whole list of actions and bullet points, which includes eliminate standing water and repair paving throughout the property. So I think we'd like
happy
response from Phipps that really addresses this agreement and the action plan in this agreement. That doesn't
sure. We would absolutely be happy to.
We can't speak for the tenants without really hearing whether, what's taking place now.
Yeah, we would absolutely be happy to. And, for everything in there, we implemented everything. Everything has been accomplished. Things are still ongoing. So, some of them talk about increasing, staff, which we did at that time and maintain those increased staff levels. So yeah, happy to give the board a full update on each of those items, which, we happily have addressed and maintain at those same levels. So absolutely, no problem.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Matthew?
Of course.
In connection to that, one of the things was that they better communications with the tenants. And so given that you've been coming to the land use committee and the board asking for a letter supporting extended hours on Saturday, you accepted this agreement, and if we're still hearing there is cooling water, and I know the flooding issues can increase that issue that's citywide. So I'm not just hearing from you that you just said you checked these boxes, but please reach out to the tenants so when we get their notes of support that you have done these things, because that's where we heard the issues from. Is that okay? Sure.
Sure. Absolutely. As Hugh mentioned, there are monthly tenant association meetings that our property management team participates in and have conversations of ongoing issues. Pooling happens anywhere, so it's not there. There hasn't been, really in the past year, any sort of unique issue unless there's a major problem that would have impacted the area. But yeah, we're happy to. Again, as I mentioned, our goal was to find out what the process is, and if you would like us to talk with tenants and get their response to this, we can certainly work on that. But I'm happy to first provide an update on the 2020, letter agreement that we had in place, and can continue the dialogue. But we definitely have active conversations with residents, and the tenant association is a monthly meeting that we are active in.
Okay, so if we can get that before November, when's our November meeting? The full board? Full board's the 7th. The 7th. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. I can't.
Lisa and then Alicia. Well, it tells you what the order is.
Okay, Lisa?
Yeah, I just want to say, we were part of those meetings, the community board was part of those meetings with tenants and FIPS for quite some time after the initial rezoning was approved. But yeah, we haven't had an update in a while. And the other thing is, if to Michael's point, prioritizing work that's less noisy in the morning would be greatly appreciated. Also, having contacts with whether with the construction company if noise is a disturbance. I can't imagine, Matthew, that it's always you. So who's the property manager there now?
So we have a whole crew. I don't know, you probably have not met
We've met a lot of
Eliza,
them. Is Kathy still around or?
Kathy Pennington.
Yes.
Yeah, Kathy's still the general manager and she oversees property management. She, throughout the entire FIPS portfolio, she will attend meetings from time to time, but on site is Elijah. He's the primary point of contact for residents. And so, yeah, look, I would say, it doesn't sound like residents have brought complaints to the board, which is good. It means things are being addressed. But we're happy to share updates and keep you all apprised of ongoing conversations and discussions, which, we're happy with the progress that's been made over the years. There was room for improvement. And, to the credit of the board, you all pushed FIPS. And I'm happy to say that, we received the feedback and implemented the recommendations that were made.
I mean, I think we're all really excited about having this project be complete and nobody wants to delay it any further than necessary because the longer they're doing the construction, the more disruptive it is. So, my inclination is to want to support it, but we need your cooperation with the cooperation of the contractor.
Absolutely. That's reasonable to ask for. If we, as y'all know, Phipps Garden Apartments has been in the neighborhood since 1931. And so, we're proud to have had this development for nearly 100 years. And we want to continue. We want to be good neighbors. We want to be engaged. We want to have, productive conversations with the board, with our neighbors. So this is all welcome.
Okay, so, yes.
So just want to miss much closer. So just to clarify one thing, so Councilmember One asked for a plan to address flooding. It's contracted an engineer, AKRF, to do a drainage report. Drainage report was completed at the end of August 27th. They outlined a bunch of recommendations that they committed to making. And so from her perspective, it's really clear that you don't want to give anything to FIPS without addressing the issues that they committed to addressing. The flooding is one that residents continue to contend to our office about. In addition to other sort of quality of residents that have come up around construction sites, so I just want to be clear for the record, there have been complaints. A number of folks in this room have been on email chains about these complaints. So it's not just our office, I'd say all of the elected offices and many of those local leaders like this as well. What we'd like to know is have the recommendations from the drainage report actually been implemented yet. The report, I think, when it was sent to us, you mentioned 2 to 3 weeks. That was at the end of August. So we're in October now. If those recommendations haven't been implemented, we're certainly sort of behind the clock on that, and that's what the residents have been asking for. So just want to be clear that this request has been made, fix it, it's great, we want to see it, but we'd like the update certainly before anything else.
So thank you very much for that update. And so what I'm hearing is that after the bullet pointed agreement that was made in 2020, who hired AKRF? FIPS did. Okay. So we understand that there's an updated there's a new drainage plan that's subsequent to that.
to what's in our 2020 agreement. And from HPRF, and we would like a report stating how and when that drainage plan is being done.
So no, to clarify that there, you know, AKRF, which we did hire, they did an assessment of work that needs to be done. So there is no new report. There's their assessment of what work needs to be done. You know, as was stated, we put out an RFP to collect bids so that the work could be accomplished. So it takes time. I can get the exact dates, but I think our responses are due in a couple weeks. I'll have to check with our purchasing department, but we will hire a firm to do the work based on the recommendations from the AKRF report, which we shared with the council member's office, and which I mentioned we're happy to share with the community board as well. Yeah, no problem. And I think, you know, matters that have come up, you know, if there is a, you know, we saw one issue of a mouse, you know, in someone's apartment, or maybe two mice. They thought it was related to the construction site. It was not related to the construction site. They have their own rodent mitigation plan, and rodents hadn't been identified, but there is a rodent, you know, cleanup plan, which Elon can talk to more if folks have questions about rodent mitigation on a construction site. In New York City, anytime you open up the ground, there's likelihood that rodents are going to show up. But there is an extermination service that is on site regularly.
Thank you. Marisa?
Thank you. Hi. So two questions. My first question is, since so much of this use of extended Saturdays is dependent on the amount of snow days that we're gonna get, am I understanding that correctly? Because we weren't able to get like an estimate as to like how much this would speed up the process, because it seemed dependent on how much.
Marisa, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
Well, just barely. Can you just kind of?
Okay. Okay, then I'm gonna turn off my video so you don't have like a close-up of my face. Hold on. Okay. All right, can people hear me now?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So my first question is, because it sounds like the amount of early Saturdays is going to be dependent on how bad of a winter we're going to get, is there a way to perhaps see how much work is done through the winter and then be able to determine how many additional early Saturdays will be needed after the winter season? That's my first question. My second question is, what is the threshold? Like, what are the circumstances that need to be in place during winter that then results in canceling a work day?
Sure. So on the first question, you know, I'm the project manager for the construction company. I wish it was as scientific as being able to say, you know, on XYZ days we lost, and so it'll take equal Saturdays to make it up. The nature of construction is that things are changing all the time, right? And so I wish it was as predictable as that, but there's no way to know.
I feel like you could maybe give us some guidelines based on your deep experience of construction and the amount of winters you've experienced, because I understand that things can happen, and what that usually means is months and months of delays. So, you know, we're also anticipating that if we're going to risk months and months of early Saturdays, that can really affect the quality of life for residents, seniors, children, baby, like, so it's a big impact. So it would be helpful to have just some rough ideas based on your experience.
Sure. So yeah, speaking to the first part, you know, that was kind of, I wish there was an equation, but there's not. And then to speak to the second part, that's a great question. Various types of work have rules about what tasks can be permitted at certain temperatures. So like, for example, concrete work becomes very prohibitive when it drops below 32 degrees, when it becomes freezing. That's also true for the type of masonry work that we're going to be doing for the structure of the building. And then some of it is also I don't know if discretionary is the right word, but it's a little, it's not as clear cut. For example, the materials that we're working with for a lot of the construction that we're going to be doing outside, if it's drizzling or if it's a short, moderate rain, it wouldn't shut us down. If we have a day of 8 hours of steady rainfall, then that will affect various types of activities. So I don't want to sound cagey or that I'm trying to avoid the question. There are certainly rules, like I mentioned with the concrete, 32 degrees. In some cases, there may be different measures that can be taken to counter those conditions. And in some cases, like heavy rain or a blizzard, it's not possible. Likewise, we're going to have a crane on site for a portion of the project. The crane plan has strict rules about operating or swinging in certain wind conditions. So, sometimes if the wind is gusting for early mornings, then maybe we can start a little later and end a little later. If there's a 8 hours of strong winds, 25-mile-an-hour gusts, so on and so forth, then we have to shut down.
We understand.
Yeah.
And I think, Carisha, to your first question, would it be accurate to say that what you're really looking for is a permit from the city with hours of opening and closing, not day by day? I mean, or not week by week. So, I mean, we can request Mega's good faith and consideration and not, using more of those dates than they need. But I don't think, in the end, what they're going to get is a permit that says yay or nay as far as timing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if the board is gracious enough to provide us the letter, we submit the letter to the buildings department, and then they'll issue a permit for Saturdays starting at 7.
Can I ask the group at large how common or rare these kinds of techniques are for building? Is there any insight?
Well, on Saturday,
Yeah, I've never had one of these before me.
my experience is, I'm gonna say, this is pulling that into that, just let's just say.
Okay. Yeah, Nick.
So what's the estimated completion of this project as of right now?
Summer 26.
Summer 26, okay. I think one of the things I've heard your chief of staff mention was that this is like an inquiry as to the process, and I would love it if it was possible to see sort of like good, better, and best. I think, I respect that you don't want to make any promises as to timing, but like, if it's spring of 2 years from now, and potentially like if we like a horrible winter and it starts to look like summer or fall of 2026 versus like, okay, you actually have 40 degrees, no wind all winter. And we finish by the end of next year, like getting a sense of like what we're actually committing to here would be helpful in a way. And if you could provide some additional examples of what that would look like, I know I would find that very helpful.
Sure. So the weather is a big factor when it comes to winter, but we also use Saturdays to try to finish early. So I don't want to give the impression that we only work a Saturday if there's a weather event and we can't work during the week. That's what we use it for commonly. But we also use it to finish as quickly as possible, early if possible, and in some cases on time. You know, sometimes, you know, it's a 2-year project. There's a lot to estimate at the front of the project about how long things will take. And we're also human and we can only predict so much of what's gonna happen. There may be things that come up that take longer than we thought. And sometimes that means working late during the weekdays, and sometimes that means working a Saturday, you know, and I'm sure lots of people's have jobs like that. You know, when there's a deadline that has to be met, sometimes it can happen where things take longer than we thought they would, and we have to use the time at our disposal to make that happen. I just bring that up to say that, you know, I don't want to give the impression that weather is the only reason why we would need to use a Saturday.
Understood. So you're saying it's spring of 2026 is summer 2026? Okay, great. Would love to just give a sense of how long we'd be committing to doing this. And so if it's till then, if it's like,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
yeah,
we make this request on every project that we work on. And our experience has been that when the letter of support is issued, then that permit is granted for the duration of the project.
Are they asking for a letter now or the process? I'm a little unclear about that. Because Matthew, you said it's about process, wanting to know what the process is to get the letter. And I know we had the concerns about the meeting together. Like, I think most of it once it's done, but I'm just trying to understand what we're being asked for tonight. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I appreciate your ear, but sometimes it interferes with my ability to pay attention when you keep chatting next. Oh, sorry. Well, please don't. Thank you. So
I'm sorry.
I know you interrupted that part. So Matthew is saying they already asking for a letter tonight. They're asking about process. So I'm just a little confused about what is being asked for. Is
Sure.
it the letter or the process?
Yeah, so when I initially reached out to the community board, I reached out asking what the process was.
Right.
And so Debbie said, come to the meeting tonight. And so we want to understand the process. You know, if the board has a process in place, we want to follow the process. If the board doesn't have a process and, you know, wanted to issue mega, you know, an approval letter, it's certainly the board's discretion, but ultimately the goal is to find out what your process is so that we can follow your process and not try to, you know, undercut the process that the board has in place, you know, and that's important to me as someone. I spent 10 years on my own community board and recognize we want to honor community board processes. So, and Debbie, I just wanted to let you know that I just forwarded you a copy of the drainage report.
So our process is that normally, you know, land use would hear your presentation, discuss it among ourselves and make a recommendation to the board. In this case, because you know, you've heard a lot of concern expressed about the tenants across the street who are the most affected by this permit. We've also heard some comments from the chief of staff of the council member. So we've requested, you know, some interim documents to see how those things are being addressed before I guess the question for us is, do we want to just discuss all that at the board meeting, or ask or delay it by a month and ask that you come back to land use? And I would put that to the committee.
No, I have a question. I don't think we want to bring this to the whole board. Just based off this conversation.
Yeah.
So we have our
November here, yeah.
In which case it still has to wait a month then it needs to wait a month to land use. I mean, I don't know if there's others that want to opine on whether this is a decision that there are only certain things that land use decides and issues letters on without going to the full board. And since this project was a concern of the full board, I'm not sure I'd be comfortable.
Board is opposed to coming back here, but because it was touchy and the community was very involved, so I'd be a little concerned about just pushing it through without being transparent.
I think it's totally fine to go to the board, but I think we should have a recommendation before we bring it.
I'm sorry,
Board.
that's
I
what
think
I-
it'll get a little chaotic otherwise.
Well, I agree, but then, in which case, I think we have to then ask you to come back to land use. In which case we wouldn't, which is gonna be after the November board meeting. Yeah, so the full board wouldn't get to see it till December.
So, order actually needs about that.
But I think you were saying that it would come to the November report.
But that's before the November land use.
Right, but instead of us having to come back to land use.
Well, that's the question. I mean, I guess, so for me, it's saying we want a recommendation from land use, but I don't feel like tonight we can come up with a recommendation because I don't think we have.
And I'd probably say let's delay it another month, have a recommendation that we can bring to the board for the December,
For December meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're along this. I mean, we have occasionally brought things to the full board when we could, asking for bringing these things to the full board. I mean, that could make it a 5-hour meeting.
Yeah. And also, it's hard for people to see document, for the board to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
agree.
every head report, like, I should be able to review all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You guys want to make a recommendation?
I have a question that I want to ask.
Go ahead.
I think, I'm not sure if you misspoke or not, but you had mentioned that, you make this request with every project.
Right.
So my question is, why was this request not made when the project, at the onset of the project?
Good question. Matthew, do you want to speak to that?
I don't, once Elon, you might be the better one to speak to it. Once you had asked us, I reached out to the community board. And so, we're waiting to get some direction on what the next steps were.
I don't think we need a motion. I think you guys should just come back to the next meeting and bring some of these, respond to the concerns that we've had. We'll talk through them and we'll make a decision at that point.
Right.
Is there a request we need to make to get back onto the agenda?
No, we just
Yeah,
voted on it.
Now,
Okay.
it'll be November 20th, same time, 6 p.m.
Right. Well, much easier than doctors. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Yep. All right, I think we will go next to, what's under new business, but just to sort of get through our business, and that's on this affordable housing project that's right next door.
Did you see warm up out?
So, I don't know if there's a presenter that one, I don't know if we're gonna show something. There's
Who's
something,
here from 4312 50th Street? Are you online?
Yes, hi, we're on virtually, the entire team. How is everybody today?
Okay, who needs privileges to present your?
I Leah, you're kicking us off, right? Hello?
Garfield is.
Oh,
Who needs privileges
okay,
to
great. Do you
present
want
your-
me to present? I have it set up if you want.
Give me 1 second, everyone. I'm having technology issues. Give me 1 second.
So who am I giving privileges to?
Okay, so I have
To Anivelka.
not my, do you see, I'm on there twice. I don't know if you see me twice. So just not the cell phone, the computer.
Leila and Developer Cordova.
Yes.
I think it's that one. Yeah.
So where is she?
Hello?
She's on there. Hey, people on the phone, who needs permission to present their screen? Who should we give it to?
Anivelka Cordova, do you see me,
Okay, yeah, we
my
see it.
computer?
See, it's green.
Not the iPhone, the computer. So there should be another, I should be on there twice.
Yeah. This one? A little higher up?
yeah, two more up.
One more. That's it. Yeah, that's the
You
one.
found me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, you should have permission now, right?
Thank you very much. Okay. Can everybody see?
Annabelle, come here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having some difficulties here. Trying to get my speaker on.
We hear you fine, Garfield.
Okay, great. So I have that part done. And let me go here. Thank you everyone for your patience of having some technology issues. My name is Garfield Bruff. I'm the Vice President of Operations and Housing for M4 Youth and Adult Activities. Thank you, Chair Hunter, Vice Chair Kumar, District Manager, and the members of the Land Use Committee for giving us the opportunity to present to you guys this evening 43-12 50th Street. This is our Sunnyside project. Along with me are my colleagues from Elm Corps, as well as our co-development partners on this project from Lemley Wolf, Serrana, and our great architect from Stat Architecture. A little bit about, sorry?
Not you.
Am I coming through clear enough for everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could speak a little louder, it'd be great.
Oh, thank you. So a little bit about Elm Corps. Elm Corps is a not-for-profit social service provider on this project. We are the oldest Black-founded, Black-led not-for-profit in Queens. Elm Corps is a 59-year-old human justice-based organization that provides populations from preschool children to older adults. We offer after-school programs, we offer recreational programs, college-bound programs, substance abuse programs, older adult centers. We have a fantastic food pantry. We are also housing providers, and we also provide career paths. M Corp services are over 12,000 people annually. That's just a little bit about our organization. Today is critically important that MCOR uses our past history and our capacity in this role as leader and service provider in this project, especially for our Black and Brown communities. Our housing program is ever expanding to deliver existing programs and develop new initiatives that affirm our ability to address the immediate and long-term quality of needs for our residents and our participants in our programs. That's one of the reasons why this project is extremely important for us, because we're Queens-based and we want to make sure we're being impactful in our community. With that said, I would love to hand this over to our development partner, Anivelka Cordova of Lemley. So quiet, are you guys there?
And Ivelka, you're muted, I think, on your iPhone.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about that. My name is Anivelka Cordova. I am a principal with Lemley and Wolf. And I will be the lead principal responsible for this project from the Lemley side. We're also very excited to present this project to all of you, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the project. Just a little bit about Lemley. Lemley and Wolf has been around for a really long time also. We were founded in the 1930s as a owner-manager of properties in the northwest side of Upper Manhattan and Harlem and those areas. And in the 80s and 90s, we expanded our capacity and really transformed more as an affordable housing developer by participating in a lot of RFPs or requests for proposals to take on a lot of distressed properties and turnaround projects at the time. And so we evolved to be who we are today, which is more of a mission-driven for-profit group that focuses primarily in affordable housing. We have, along with having a property management arm, we have also developed a strong development and construction operation. And in this project, we will be assuming the role of co-developer, general contractor, property manager, and marketing agent as well. And we'll be working hand in hand with Elm Corps through all phases of the development to execute the project. And I guess the other, just a little bit more on in terms of our growth in Queens and the work that we're doing in Queens. We've been, again, our portfolio has grown tremendously over the years with a lot of work in affordable housing. We manage about 7,000 apartments currently and have over the years developed and or either through new construction programs or rehab programs developed over 4,000 units in partnership with HPD and other partners, including obviously elected officials, the state. We've also participated in a lot of state programs and a lot of state deals as well. And so, naturally, we have grown and focused beyond the neighborhood initially where we are located, which is the Bronx. Our concentration currently is in the upper Inwood section of Manhattan and Harlem, South Bronx, and Soundview section of the Bronx, and growing into other neighborhoods, Brooklyn, Queens. And so we're really excited to also continue to do our work and grow into this community and get to know the members of this community and be able to work together over the next few years and onward, obviously, but particularly making sure that we have a very successful construction and development project to deliver these much needed affordable apartments for the neighborhood. So with that, I'm gonna continue the presentation and talk a little bit more about the project. Okay, so this project is located right next door to where you all are physically located. The site right now is a 55 unit, 8-story building. We have a unit distribution that meets HPD guidelines with a lot of focus on trying to be able to have enough units for larger families. So the target, this unit mix was really focused on trying to house families, as well as obviously we do have some studios here. So, but the concentration, as you can see, is focusing more on slightly larger units. So we have 8 studios, 31 bedrooms, 17 2-bedrooms. And of the 55 units, we have a 15% set aside, or 9 of the units will be set aside for formerly homeless families. Some of the amenities that we want to focus on and that we will be bringing as part of the project or offering residents, we are focused on designing sustainable building that's 100% electric, meeting the Enterprise Green Community certification. We're also applying and pursuing the Con Ed Clean Heat program. So from a sustainability perspective, we're trying to achieve those measures. We have a lot of open areas and areas for community engagement within the building. So we have first floor community room, a very spacious landscape backyard, 7th floor. We also have a 7th floor community room at the setback. So it's a community room that leads into an outdoor deck that provides residents with a lot of opportunities to also engage and obviously just enjoy that space, outdoor space. We also have, just adding to the sustainability, green roof. We have green roofs at the 8th floor setback, which is important, right? Just to make sure we have as much green spaces as we can. This area is not accessible to residents, but it's helping in water retention, and just it's great for the environment, obviously. And we also have solar panels that are incorporated and will be added to the building and help complement the reducing the energy consumption of the building as well. So those are some of the amenities, and the units themselves. We have some layouts. I don't know how great they're viewed in this presentation, but let's go here. I don't know if that's easy to see. We just wanted to show, we didn't know how much time we would have today in terms of showing layouts, but we wanted to show a general sense of what the first floor plan would look like, and provide folks just a sense for the unit sizes, just trying to provide a lot of ample, modern, slightly larger units, right, to accommodate families. So this is just the first floor showing the layout. We also have a laundry room that faces the outdoor space in the backyard, so that as you're doing laundry, you can enjoy, looking at the backyard and the landscape areas.
I'm sorry, where is that laundry room? It's on.
You see it right here. I'm sorry, let me blow it up a little bit more. It's this area right here. Do you see my mouse? It says laundry. It's not very clear in this presentation.
It's on the upper left.
Yes, upper left, right here. So we weren't able to make it open to the outdoors. So you do have windows here, as you see, because there are columns here. And then the exit into the outdoor space is right outside of the laundry room. Sorry, let me just. So you can exit into the outdoor, the backyard, through this door right here. And then this area here, you have obviously a bathroom at the first floor. This is the entrance. It's a vestibule, and we have social service offices to the right-hand side. So social service / management office. I think it's there's 2 offices here. And we have a community room that is also on the first floor, which, I think there's a lot of programming and community engagement that that Elm Corps will be doing for this community and for the residents here, to support families that live here. So this is just a little bit of the layout, and just wanted to focus on the 7th floor a little bit because it has the other amenity spaces there, so that you could see what the layout or the proposed layout is here. So this community room is also very spacious and provides direct access into this outdoor deck area for residents. You can access it directly from the community room itself, so it provides that connectivity. And then there's also another entry point from the hallway at this point here, where my mouse is. So just to give you a sense of the design and what we intend to build, the facade itself is really tried to focus with our architect in being very contextual in the design, and to have the building complement the neighboring community, and just sort of that architecture that exists in Sunnyside, so that it doesn't stand out as a sore, which we never want to do for a new building that's placed in the middle of the block in this way. So we hope that you agree that we achieved it. some contextual and connectivity there with the project. The affordability tiers, we wanted to highlight that for you. I'll just leave that on the board for a second. So we have various AMI tiers, and we have the ranges here just highlighted. And really, the summary is that 70% of the units, or 38 out of the 55, are affordable to low-income families from a range between 0 and 60% AMI. And then 30% of the, sorry, did you have a question? Sorry. And then the other 30%, 16 units, are affordable to moderate income families. And those ranges are from 80% area medium income to 120%. We also have a supers unit in the property, and which is also very important. The project financing and timeline, we pursued a low-income housing tax credit application for this project, and were awarded tax credits through HPD in May of this year. And the subsidy program through HPD is called the New Construction Program, NCP program. And that was paired with the generous support of elected officials. Councilmember Julie Wan's office supported the project with RESOA funding for this round, as well as the Queens VP, Donovan Richards as well, who supported the project, which we're very, very grateful, and has allowed the project to move forward and hopefully close by December of this year is the target. In terms of timeline, the project went through demolition and was able to quickly nearly complete the demolition. We're waiting sign-offs and some final touches on demo. We probably have just about a week's worth of work, but at the moment we are not. We're not on site. We're just finalizing the financing process. So we were able to complete what was required on demo and moving towards a construction closing. The construction timeline would be a 24-month construction period. So assuming that we are able to start construction, we would let's say we close in December, we would start foundation in January 2025, and it would be a 24-month construction schedule, targeting full occupancy and stabilization by June of 2027.
Well, I just had a question at the end of the presentation. What is being asked of us?
I think we're that's my summary. We tried to be as brief as possible to open it up for any questions that you may have.
So I want to say we're very happy and supportive to see, as of right, fully affordable, 100% affordable developments being, this is really it's been a long time since anything like this has gotten built here. So we really appreciate that. I do think it's a little bit of a misnomer to call this a family project when only less than a third of the units are 2 bedrooms and there's no 3 bedrooms. So, but on the other hand, all housing is needed, and also families and people need housing. So we're not quibbling on that. Other questions? Michael?
Yeah, I have a few questions for the applicant, and then I would actually also just love to understand, if this is by right, why this is coming before the community board at all. But just some questions. I think this is a beautiful project, and I just have some questions for understanding. So when you presented the AMI ranges,
sure,
I was just curious what this means in practice, because like 80% versus 120% is kind of materially different. So when you say the ranges are between that, is it like, what does that mean? Does it mean it's on average somewhere in between, but each specific.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, we wanted to try to make the information a little bit more sort of easy and quicker. So basically there's a number of units at 80% AMI, there's a number of units at 100% AMI, and a few others at 120.
Okay.
So we just kind of instead of having a huge chart that
I see.
had too much details, we just kind of provided it in ranges, but I can be more exact if that's helpful. But yeah, the way that this term sheet for HPD works is that we're trying to capture a range of, or enough of a range of families at different price points, right? To allow to offer that opportunity. So obviously part of it was looking at the market and understanding the rents as they are, and where do you target this moderate income moderate income buckets. What are the ranges? So it's been an exercise with HPD on looking at the market, understanding the comps in the area, and
Yeah, and kind of
targeting that.
that
Yes.
makes sense.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Oh,
And I can answer the point on why do we want to come to the
yeah, I have one other
committee.
question, but yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, I mentioned that, so go.
Yeah.
So feel free to answer it. Yeah.
Well, I think we wanted to come to the committee, first of all, to, obviously we're literally right next door. Even though it's as of right, we do not need an action from the community board, but we do want to be partners with you, to be your great neighbors. We're also going to be the builder here in this project. So starting off with the right, just who we are is a very big piece. And of course, it's always hard to figure out when is the right time, because you don't know if you're going to close, or if this is really going to happen. And this has been quite a couple years of planning. So now that we're here, we are funded. We have a great partner and a great building that we're very proud of, and we wanted to make sure that you all aware that we're going to be working with you, and we're going to obviously, a big part of what we do is outreach and tenant outreach, particularly during the marketing phase of the project. The lottery process in for affordable housing is not perfect, but when there's really a strong partnership between the community board and just everybody being aware of the project from inception, there's a really great turnout, and you have a lot of applicants wanting to live in your building. And so we hope that that's an example of the ways that we can work together when we get close to starting the lease up process. And then obviously, anything that could happen during construction, as you know, we're going to want to communicate with all of you. I'll have my construction team come and present or provide updates, or even over email, to let you all know what the construction timeline is, when, who are the key people, who's the construction project manager that's going to be responsible for that day-to-day on site, and making sure the site remains safe and there are no issues. All of those sort of next steps is what we wanted to initiate today.
Thank you.
And may I?
One question.
Ask you to stop sharing so we can see.
I'm sorry. Hello.
Thank
This
you.
is
One question is, and I don't know if this is standard under the Housing Connect program, or just this building by building. Is there a board two preference for some portion of the applicants? In other words, on the Housing Connect program, are you more likely to win the lottery, or get a place to reside in Ward 2 now?
I think there is a community preference. It's just lower than it was before, I believe. That has changed because of a recent lawsuit. But we can come back and send an email with we'll confirm with HPD.
Some of the information we would want to make known in the name. My other question is, might we be able to use your first floor community room for board meetings? We're stuck in here.
Yeah.
You're right next door.
And Velka, you there?
Go ahead. Yes, I'm here. Go ahead, Garfield.
Yeah, so to go back a little bit, everyone, one of the things that Annabelle is touching on in terms of us being really, really sensitive, it is paramount, super important to us that we are great neighbors. I know Matthew and the Fifth House used it earlier, and we can see how clearly you are about your standards and your people. And so we are very, very serious about being great neighbors, including knowing the fact that we're next to you. Our space is your space. It's not meant to be our space. It's the community space. So as simple as it sounds, and I know Annabelle spoke really well about it. It is very important to us. It is very important to us that we start out the right way. It is very important to us that throughout this process that we trust each other, we believe in each other. And again, going back to what I heard from the other team, that when we make a commitment to you, that you can believe that we're going to deliver on it, and that throughout this process, we're going to work with each other. I will say thank you to the other team for the heads up. We'll ask for our Saturday permit now, and we'll plan on being great neighbors.
All right, a couple of hands are up here. Sheila?
Yes, I had a question long-term, like I am curious about the ownership of this project. Because seems like a great project, but is this going to remain, or I mean, for how long does this remain in the ownership of a nonprofit, or is there the potential that this could be flipped at some point?
So I'll speak for Lemley. We're long-term owners of affordable housing. We're not in this business to sell after the year 15 period, or to exit necessarily. So for right now, the way our partnership is structured is that Elmcor and Lemley are partners, long term.
I ask this because the PIPS was a partner for related properties, and PIPS is no longer really a part of that.
Right.
So, and I know that a lot of public funding comes with 15-year covenants.
Sure.
Kind of looking if there's a permanent and are they permanently affordable units?
Yes. So they're not permanent affordable. These are going to be subject to an extended affordability period of 60 years.
60 years.
60.
60.
60. That's better. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, our exit strategy is to keep the building as affordable as possible. I think, we don't know what the market's gonna look like in 15 years or 30 years or 40 years. But as far as Elmcor's mission, it's to participate in affordable deals in our community.
And will Elmcor be operating programs, either, some kind of social programs?
Absolutely. Every piece of what we do that's great, we're going to implement it into the building. I know that we are sometimes limited to, how many units, how many individuals that we can participate with directly through funding sources. I know that our CEO, Saida Dunstan, who's one of the great individuals not here today, her thing is we want to make sure every single person in the building, and every building that we operate through, knows that we're there for them, whether it's an infant or an older person, whether they need a hug, whether they need directions to HRA. We are super excited to have this kind of space where we can make a solid impression on the population. We're super excited about it. We have a pantry. Sorry?
My question was more, it sounds like Elmcor, I'm not that familiar with Elmcor's programs, but that you operate other programs in the communities where you're active, and now you're moving into Sunnyside. Are you going to operate programs that would be applicable to kids or other people neighborhood who don't live in the building?
Absolutely, absolutely. We see ourselves as a network between all of our different assets. We have several older adult centers that we're super proud of. We have a youth program that is bustling. We have a gym that we operate out in Queens that is always being rented out. We just completed a permanent supportive housing project. To one of your colleagues' question, that particular asset is going to be affordable in perpetuity. We're also operating two sanctuaries, one in Long Island City and another in Jamaica, Queens. And we've been working really, really hard with DHS to make sure each one of the families, the single adults, the young kids, everyone is being given an opportunity to receive some level of service, right? Whether it's emotional support, whether it's food, whether it's direction on how to get your permanent residency. I think we're doing a really fantastic job for the individuals that we come in contact with. And of course, we're going to be building a program, not just for the building, but something that we can expand in the area.
So just to be clear, what kind of programs do you anticipate operating? It will be out of the first floor of this building? So
Well,
I just want to be clear. We do not have a community facility space in the ground floor. So I think the presence obviously inevitably as neighbors visit the building, and if there are people in the neighborhood and they inquire and speak to Elm Corps staff, I think there's going to be that inevitable connection of services that they can offer people, but we're not going to provide services or be able to do community case management or seeing, besides maybe organizing a event in a community room, right? Let's say in partnership with the community board, that is obviously something that is is possible to do with any building, but it is not a community facility. So I just want to be clear that Elm Corps' presence in the neighborhood obviously presents an opportunity to provide linkages and referrals, and make sure community members know that there's this other group that's operating these different services very close by, and I think that's hopefully what that other element, and if there's an opportunity for growth in another site nearby, I'm sure that Garfield and Saida would love to do that as well, to open up a new center.
So just to be clear, it's 100% residential building, for instance.
Correct.
For community room. I don't know if it opens to the street, but basically it's access through the lobby. So there's not.
Correct. Right.
Anything like an after school program or anything being operated. Correct?
That's correct. So it would be linkages, right? That the Elm Corps team can provide to community members who inquire, things like that.
All right.
If you look at the I just blew up a little bit that lobby entrance, or the community room area that has the window in that ground floor, so you could kind of get a sense for.
I just have a clarifying question. So there won't be any full-time Elm Corps staff on the premises, or any, you said no, social training?
They will be on site. There's an office they will be on site every day from 9 to 5, right? Saturdays, they will not be there Saturdays. But they will not be seeing out all the work that Elm Corps will be doing in terms of case management work. Obviously events and programming, in partnership with folks. That's what we, that's what we talked about, as a possibility, but we need to stay within occupancy levels and things like that, other rules. But the case management work and the services that they'll provide are for the residents.
Yeah, thanks for that clarifying point. One of the things that we do really well We have a 51-bed residential, a co-ed residential program for people in some transitions in their life, as well as the population that we have over at our 30 new unit building, or were all previously homeless individuals or individuals at risk of being homeless. So, you know, to Annavelka's point, one of the things that we're really, really great at are making these linkages with tenants, making linkages with tenants with ourselves and the resources that we have, being able to wrap a really great, you know, warm blanket and or relationship around them and get them what they need. So we're pretty good at doing that.
Thank you. Any other board questions? Lisa? Oh, Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Annavelka. I had mentioned this to you at one time previously about the scaffolding and the lighting there. I think, people walking through that area, it's kind of dark and sometimes there's a lot of debris. I just want to bring that to your attention.
Definitely, I'll take a look. I'll talk to them about it and make sure that I thought that they had added some lights, but I'll double check. And I know we have somebody there every day checking and cleaning up the sidewalk and making sure that there's no excess garbage. Happy to say no sanitation tickets so far.
Yeah,
But
I just want to
but
let
I'll definitely
Debbie
add that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let Debbie have that contact because you're Debbie, you're the eyes and ears and you park there every day and, do you have any comments, Debbie or Marianne?
No, so far they've been good neighbors. The demolition went well. And we've had no issue with the demolition so far.
That's great to hear. I'm so glad. But we will definitely look at the sidewalk bridge and see if there's any additional lighting that we need to add. Yep. So we'll look at it again. I'll have them take a look tomorrow.
Lighting is a problem on the street. It's a very dark street. So maybe you want to consider lighting on the outside of the building as the building grows.
Oh, absolutely. You mean the facade lighting for the building?
Absolutely.
Yep. We'll make sure we're paying a lot of attention. We're not showing the lighting in the rendering because we're still selecting, but yes, I absolutely agree. It's critical to the security and the safety, as well as multiple cameras throughout the building and the exterior. That's critical as well.
Okay, well, thank you very much and welcome to the neighborhood. And I think we have to keep moving on our agenda.
Sorry, I had a quick question. Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, sorry.
Sure. Go ahead.
Carisha. So am I right in understanding that once this building is up, it is Lemley that's going to be the property manager?
Correct.
Okay. And then how do you go about, are you going to be like hiring locally or how do you go about? Okay.
Great question. So we generally, there is definitely hiring goals as part of any affordable housing project in terms of trying to get local hiring and participation. So we enforce that very heavily on the construction side and try to get as much participation as we can. And also have a strong component of MWBE certified contractors that are working on the site as well. And so that's definitely in terms of permanent jobs. So those are sort of the temporary jobs that occur from construction, which
I sort of meant like the super.
No, the permanent. Yeah, the permanent. And so we also spend a lot of time focused on outreach for the permanent jobs. So that will be your super importer positions and trying to fill it. And that's another great example of job postings and how if we could share any job postings that we may need either on the construction side or on when we're ready to hire permanent, if we could share that with all of you, the job descriptions and work together on that. That's another great example of how we can work together for
Okay,
filling some of
great.
these positions.
Yeah, I've just been looking at some of the reviews of the supers responses in other units that you have. So just wanted to make sure that was, you know, before the building's built, that we're able to
Sure.
get ahead of that, especially in
Sure.
our neighborhood. Thank you.
Definitely.
Again, thanks so much, and we hope, you know, we hope to see you back when the building is closer to finish.
All right. Thank you.
Take
Have a
care.
good evening. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So I think we really don't have actions to take. Except what did we say? So landmarks, we're gonna write a letter and say that, is there any objection? We didn't sort of take this formally to saying we have no objection to the metal clad wood windows. And we request that landmarks create a clearer policy so that they can grant staff permits and this doesn't have to come up to us. Were we all in agreement on that? Anybody opposed? Okay. We asked the other landmark application to return with a better full presentation.
Can I bring up something else? I mean, this has something else to do with my landmark. Say we really need to create some guidelines around that, so we have to know
Guidelines around the split systems.
Yes.
Well, we can accept that we're not at the point of writing landmarks, so that, I mean, we could.
I didn't mean about the specific project. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, it's gonna be coming, so should we just include that in that response?
I think when we respond to it, we should just do that. Serious. And Phipps was asked to come back. So let's proceed to city planning.
So tonight we have a couple items on the agenda. The first is the CB2 tech memo. Then we will talk about waterfront zoning, and then lastly, I will share next month's topic. So starting with the tech memo. So CHO recently went before the CPC. 2 modifications were made to the proposal. Okay, I'll get to those, but I first want to share 2 upcoming engagement opportunities related to CHO. The first is a public meeting, that's October 21st. First, let me share, I'll put all of this in an email and send to Debbie to have this sent out. But the public meeting, it's not a chance for public testimony, but it is a chance to hear questions from the council. And then there is another opportunity the following day on the 22nd. This is a public hearing, so you register to do testimony, you can do online or in person. I will include the details, but this one is starting at 9:30 in the morning. There's something to note. And getting to the tech memo itself, basically the tech memo is to determine if the CPC modifications would have any impact to the environmental impacts tied to CHO. So the findings were that there would be a minor reduction in the overall number of units generated through the proposal, and that the impacts of the proposal would be either the same or slightly reduced from the FEIS that was shared out originally. So the 2 modifications are related to removing obstacles to quality housing development on sites with existing buildings, also known as the infill proposal. And the other is more floor area for affordable and supportive housing. So digging into those a little bit. For infill, the CPC mod would reduce the applicability of the campus infill proposal to exclude sites subject to Section 18 of the Housing Act, which is basically public housing. So public housing sites are subject to federal regulations under HUD that really supersede local zoning. So this modification would retain the existing zoning regulations for campus infill projects on public housing campuses. So it's basically taking that section and taking it out, and what the rule is today, we'll move it forward. And I do believe that was a recommendation of this board.
Yeah.
All right, yes.
Right, well done.
So people read these, I promise. The next is on the affordable and supportive housing. So in today's zoning, when developing in an R10 district, you can generate additional floor area by providing affordable units off-site.
CHO proposed to sunset this provision after 10 years, and the CPC removed the sunset provision from the proposal. So basically, again, the laws that are in place today are retained. Those are the two minor changes. And then,
We appreciate it.
and then, yeah, I already talked about the public engagement. Okay, so now moving to waterfront zoning. Again, we have two.
Really quick on
yeah,
City
of
of Yes. Was it actually a result of reading our comments and other board's comments, or was it something else that?
Yeah. Like everybody's comments, everybody's conditions. I'm envisioning a big spreadsheet where things get tallied up. So I know that there were obviously more questions, like the individual commissioners, have their own rationale for why something would be one way or the other.
But presumably someone else also said, hey, we should probably remove
borough.
public housing from
The
this.
borough.
Yeah.
Councilmember Warren.
I have a question as well. I saw the speaker of the council speak and say that the hearing on the 22nd would be about this as well as housing in general. Is that accurate? Or was she being just overly broad about what they're talking about?
So I don't have that detail specifically.
Katie, I can answer.
Lara.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Lara Marita from Department of City Planning as well. Nice to see you all. For City of Yes, so the first day on Monday will be for city officials to speak. So Dan Garodnick will be speaking. On the 22nd, it will be open testimony. And I just wanted to clarify, the open testimony from 9:30 to 1 is only in person. So if you are planning to join virtually at 1 p.m., they'll start going from people who are on the Zoom and trade off with people in person if there's still people in person that need to that are still there to testify. This is solely on the housing opportunity that you have reviewed with the modifications that the Planning Commission has accepted and adopted that are amended into the proposal that will be under public review for City Council now.
Thank you. Thanks. Other CHO questions or move on to waterfront? So there are two other public engagement opportunities, two in addition to the two I just talked about. So there's the walk shop that is this upcoming weekend. It's on Sunday. I know I shared this at the full board meeting, but if you do plan on attending, we would love if you guys could register. It just helps us with planning. The registration limits that were on there, like in the earliest stages, those have been removed. So anyone can register. Again, all this will be in that email. And then we also have the workshop, which is on October 29th. Coming up so soon. And do you want to provide additional details on that? I apologize.
No, it's okay. It's a waterfront workshop. Should complement this meeting. It is from 6 to 8 at Sound
Studios.
Yes,
Annabelle
because
Basin.
it's Annabelle Basin which is the location because it's the location that was accessible right by the water. So folks can get a chance to experience the waterfront if they're going to.
Wait, so it's a culture lab? Is that?
No, it's across the basin. So it's
Sound River Studios?
You know where Annabelle Basin is? Yeah, 44th at the end, so, yeah.
for access.
Could you please share the slides? Can we have share privileges?
Sure. I don't know how to get you my view, is that it?
Yeah.
There it is.
Oops, that's not good.
Circle.
Yes, what?
Go up. Wait.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, can we move the, there we go. All right, so next slide, there we go. So we are going to talk through existing conditions on the waterfront, the waterfront access framework, in the LAC plan, and also waterfront access plan for WAP basics. So starting with existing conditions. We have large concentrations of open space along the waterfront. Small plazas and shared streets have inland open space, and many residents live far from the large regional parks located along the waterfront. Next slide. Additional open space outside of what I just listed is quite limited, but the area is also served by Queensbridge Park, Murray Playground, Baby Park, and even smaller spaces like Rafferty Triangle. Next slide. This map shows the growing flood risk related to significant storm events. So our planning efforts will need to incorporate resiliency. Next slide. This map shows flood risk. Wait, I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. So this map shows our existing conditions along the waterfront. So the lightest blue shows where the existing WAP is already in place. There are about 40 acres of lot area along the East River and Annabelle Basin waterfronts. Most of these sites are under private ownership, with the exception of the city-owned properties, which are in the dash red line. And I know that the full city properties aren't captured here, but the city properties within the WAP are what's outlined here.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so now getting to our waterfront access framework. So a huge factor in us considering the need for looking at the one LAC plan included the outdated waterfront access plan.
Can I just clarify that it's a
sorry?
proposed plan, right? The one LIC, it's not a final plan.
Well, the plan exists, you know, like we're working on the plan, like active plan.
Yeah, it's just a line, just because when someone says plan, it's like it's done. And it's still in process, correct?
Absolutely.
So
in
it's a
progress.
proposed plan.
Yes, we are working on it together. Okay, so yes, the existing waterfront access plan has fallen out of date over time, and has fallen out of line with our city standards. Next slide. So it has long been the vision of the city to bring public access to the Long Island City waterfront. The existing WAP was adopted in 1997 and was actually one of the first in the city to be adopted. Next slide. So the WAP covers a series of parcels, and a plan for the waterfront access is set for each parcel. So our 1997 plan did not anticipate mixed-use development on Long Island City. It did not really plan for programmatic activities. It didn't really include special design requirements for amenities like planting, seating, or benches. And it was also adopted before we saw the more recent trend of large storm events coming up to New York. Next slide. So roughly a quarter of the comments we received through all of our public engagement so far have been focused on the waterfront. So comments include calls for continuity from Gantry to Queensbridge, exploring public-private partnerships for maintenance, including soft shorelines, active recreation facilities, and access to the water, and incorporating resilient design. So in our draft scope of work, we included modification of the Northern Hunters Point Waterfront Access Plan and our proposed actions. The modified WAP will align with current city standards, and some modifications will be made to address the unique character of LAC's waterfront. It will create a resilient waterfront community and facilitate vibrant public spaces. Next slide. So this next chunk is really on like the waterfront access point basics. So these are really the technical terms that are found within the zoning. So if they're a little odd, that's why. So given how much land is in private ownership along the East River and the Basin waterfronts, the WAP really is our strongest tool to deliver open space. And this is delivered through waterfront public access areas on each individual site. So at a minimum, the WAP will require on each site, a shore public walkway, which is a 40-foot wide walkway along the waterfront. Sorry, next slide. Okay. Excuse me, the upland connections and visual corridors. So the upland connection is a physical connection from the nearest upland street to the waterfront area. And is required at regular intervals of the shoreline. The visual corridor provides access from the nearest upland street to the waterfront. Right. There we go. And then the other big element is the supplemental public access area, or SPA, sometimes referred to it as. So some sites may allow for up to 30% of additional open space, sort of in exchange for additional density. So those are sort of the four main components of the access areas. So in a waterfront access plan, the components you just saw are applied to a geography based on specific site conditions and spatial needs. So that's sort of what you see here is a draft of putting all of those things to paper. This framework could deliver about 9 acres of additional open space, strengthen connections in the inland community, updated regulations to address flood risk and sea level rise, and lastly, a variety of spaces that provide active recreation, a vibrant day's experience, and restoration of the local ecology. So multiple strategies need to be employed in LIC to increase resilience to coastal hazards. Coastal protection is the first line of defense against flooding and sea level rise. WAP updates would help us to manage sea level rise and would require coordination with DEP and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Buildings will also need to be designed to withstand and recover from flooding. We have high standards for flood resilient construction and encourage adaptive techniques to be employed as well. So there are required elements within a WPAA, like lighting, plantings, and other things that you see on this slide. But there's also a lot of things that we can incentivize. So like dog runs, picnic areas. So next slide. Dog runs, picnic areas, public art, potlucks, those kinds of things, including a range of resiliency measures, can also be incorporated into the plan. So basically, the WAP through the LHC plan, the modified WAP, will build on the basic requirements and be tailored to meet the needs that we've heard through so far. Do you want to go back to these kinds of amenities are really where we'll have the most flexibility to tailor the WAP. And kind of this sort of area of the WAP will be what the focus of the upcoming waterfront, workshop is going to be focused on. That's all I have.
I would like to give to us the slide.
Yeah, which slide do you want me to?
I would like to go back to that slide that has the cross section. Yeah, there, thank you. Because, you know, I know you mentioned resiliency and we didn't actually hear storm surge, but, and the Army Corps of Engineers. But it seems to me like one of the really essential things that today in 2024 seems much more essential and is not really addressed by any of the WAP regulations is a consistent approach to really protecting the shoreline and against the possibility of storm surge. And I'm wondering if there's a possibility, and certainly the community, I think, has expressed a preference for soft landscaping, such as in Hunters Point South, which requires more depth. And then I know that the consultants who worked with state funding on the vision plan, the Long Island City Coalition, propose both the soft landscaping and a buried seawall behind it, which is the exact strategy that they're currently building at Battery Park City. And does seem to. So it's sort of the most convincing strategy that I've heard to produce something that's both, you know, beautiful and usable for recreation beyond just, you know, the walkway, because 40 feet is barely enough to accommodate pedestrians and two-way bikes, and I don't even see bikes in this, so I guess where I'm going with this is it seems to me conceiving of that section of how we're going to handle that waterfront all the way up is one of the basic questions. And I'm wondering if there's the option to increase the setback distance in order to accommodate that, which is part of the LICC proposal.
Related to that, I'm just wondering, how much more of a percentage, was, are you talking about in this compared to the existing?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
How much wider is this space compared to the existing requirements?
How much wider is the 40-foot compared to what's current? I believe that's the case, and we'll definitely have to get. We will have to get clarification on the exact difference in width on the current to the proposed. I will just have to check on that.
Well, is that section on the left, is that the proposal?
No, this is just an example of that.
But it's a 40-foot wide example.
That's right.
And it doesn't
That's
show,
the standard.
right, and it shows no bicycles.
This is just sort of like.
Right, but I mean, within the widths shown, they're very narrow for the number of people that say you see, and the uses that you see further south. So it doesn't really seem like an extension of the very successful, you know, waterfront development that's happened in places south. And that's a real concern.
I guess what I'm suggesting in my question is comparing how much an increase in public space that we would be getting compared to the density and height percentage increase.
Yeah, I mean, to add on to that, I recently looked at the community board one, which actually is like 52nd of the list like they're down at the bottom of community board districts for public open green space, and community board 2 is lower. And so, and the council members district because of the Hudson is also still near the bottom. And so even with the proposed 40 feet, and I apologize for cutting you off, it's just sometimes when we use hard words, eventually people believe them. So I think it's important not to plan when something's being worked on. Or planning, you could say. But so I really would like to know where with the proposed density and even at 40 feet, where would that leave the council member district on public open green space? Versus where it is today, and the same thing between Ward 2, those are two different things. Because if we're moving the needle further to the bottom, you know, waterfront access plan, I don't think it's less than a lot of expertise saying that the LICC plan, proposed plan does, but it also is dealing with public open green space needs, which have to be with a healthy community. Putting the people in a box without access to air and greenery is not healthy.
Building on that, I mean, some of the things I think we need in the green space aren't just pedestrian walkway, and that's all nice, but we need, I'm gonna be very selfish, but we need a running track that isn't small. We need a tennis court or whatever, pickleball. We need those sports kind of activities, which you need some more space. And I mean, I would say, I have a lot of neighbors who would like to go picnic. Like, I mean, yes, they can go to Queensbridge, but that's used, I mean, the space is used. So like, you know, like what a public park generally, how those things, and I don't, this doesn't feel like enough space.
what's creating this 40-foot letter? 60, 80, 120,000? What's why?
I'm trying to also kind of dive into the history of the lab and the legal ramifications of the specific numbers that it's set. But I'm almost positive that things lies in the legal that the city has for on requiring this lab. It's a collection of these parcels and so can you just a little that was similar? Yes. I was just saying that I'm pretty certain that the 40-foot requirement is based on a legal sort of requirement that was placed in the history of the lab. I'm working with our council office to just get the history, understanding where that 40 came from. So we'll follow.
Yeah, I just love to see what the actual legal limit is. Like, can we go to 50? Can we go to 60? What's not the best for this?
Yep. Okay, I have a question. The question is, I wanted to ask this board, and I'll bring it up as well. But in this committee, what about the LICC government? Like, is something that you are relative to?
It's basically that the resiliency is much more in line with current and future. Scientific thought.
So the resilience of that, like the strategies, the strategies and proposed implementation of those strategies. Tell me more about the proposal.
Well, you have, so you know, procedure is the getting more space. You can't implement some of those things on 20 or 40 feet. So that it starts there. And then there's soft, you know, permeable things, and there's the walls built in. Right. And obviously building that wall would require a kind of coordinated, you know, capital investment, however that is funded. But another thing, that's in the LICC plan, and I don't know, I would need Bonnie to explain it, but it is some way of pooling the open space that was provided by the developers on the private lots, of pooling that in a way to create a larger part, a larger single park rather than contiguous. Yes, because I mean, in all the words that you just used about, you know, the areas on either side of the walkway, and I never heard the word park. And maybe because park implies public park, but that's part of the real success of what's happening in the South is that, you know, I know, and it's different, but, you know, originally there was a state gantry park, there's a state park, right? And then 100 Point South is a city park that has special funding mechanisms. So it's the combination of the walkway with a real park that I think we're talking about, and a real park. And so you need enough contiguous, like Patrick said, contiguous open space to accommodate those sort of real active recreational uses that the community is sorely missing.
I had a question around, I think you had a slide about the area in question. Go back to it. That slide that shows the area. Okay, great. So it looks like a lot of the conversation, you know, I'd say you're good there.
You're here?
Yeah,
Okay.
just we'll leave it. A lot of the conversation was around the East River. But I didn't see a lot of anything around Newtown Creek that really wraps this community board and this council district. So I was curious, what is the dealio with that? All the way through industrial landscape and
Part of the waterfront.
yeah, Black Sludge is part of the water.
Is there even a WAP along Newtown Creek? Is there something now?
There's no WAP, but there's a WPAA. which is, waterfront public access area, which is, so, Katie was explaining earlier, a WAP is a collection of process together, so it's a blanket, almost like writing everything. That's what I'm saying. Versus WPAA, which is parcel wise, so a private developer can come and develop property in the waterfront and say, I want to develop on this waterfront, I mean, on this, parcel, but I have a waterfront, so that's why they need to come to us, or yes, city planning, actually, to get certification as part of the WPAA. Now, for Newtown Creek, I believe there's one, the Mulch Drive one that's open today or recently. That is an example of actually one of our very first WPAA CB2. We're gonna go check it out. But so me saying this is that this would be sort of the one I see would be one of the very first studies that actually begins to actually take over the WA WAP and update it to current standards. The Mulch Drive is one of the very first, so this is an opportunity for us to like sort of craft the plan as we would like to be. Newtown Creek, that is the one example that I can say is a waterfront development along the creek. There is no WAP on it.
Why is that?
I can come back to it. And if not, why not? Why?
Yeah, sure. Maybe we can get that bridge over and fight pedestrian.
Where?
The one that we've been talking about for 30 years, that goes from basically straight across. Exactly. There used to be a bridge there.
Oh, yeah, the trolleys.
Penny.
But he was going to bring it through bridges, so.
Oh, that's.
Adrian was asking me about this, I would just, you did ask, the question of why doesn't why isn't this not inclusive of the entire report? It's just, it's outside of the study. So
That was my original question. What is the study area that is being discussed?
so like there's a lot of efforts that people are involved in. So like, you know, remediation, the chemical remediation, the moving debris, and like trying to fix that new site. And the Congressman's office in particular, they're really doing that today and to take up that far and to like fix the bulkhead.
And the CSO issue.
Exactly, the CSO issue, and like that's what's just like to try to make this an actual, you know, like clean, usable sort of natural space. But that's all outside of like the one I see the study area.
How far does one of
No, that was my original question. It's not part of the study. It's not part of what the area we're talking about for this. That's more than fine. No, not to risk a tangent.
Just on like a technicality, the proposed action in the draft scope report was specific to updating the existing, Q-1 waterfront access plan. So like just technically speaking, that is where we find ourselves.
So on that note, does that mean that the environmental impact statement doesn't care what might happen to the Newtown Creek? Something I actually might the study area.
Are you asking if the environmental impact statement takes development outside of the project area into consideration? So there are, thinking of a map from the draft scope of work document, there are like specific like half mile, a mile radius radii, where they're like rings of like what is considered the project areas, what's considered the context area, and then the development within those areas that are certain distance to the project area. That's what gets contemplated. So I have not memorized where those lines are exactly, but
it seems to me that when it comes to water, it's a different issue because the water is all connected. So you can make an argument for something being X number of miles away, let's say inland, and not necessarily being impacted in exactly the same way that something that impacted it is with the water is, because it's all connected. In other words, the Newtown Creek doesn't have any kind of barrier with these, it's completely connected.
The Zoom's having a hard time hearing, so can we all collectively speak louder and at the television? And hopefully that works.
The microphone over there.
I think that's the one that's working.
Do you want me to also put the sound so they can see?
No.
They can see people if they want. We're the ones with the visibility.
So let's say, just as an example, let's say, it's presumed to be some sort of, strong sort of communication, is effective along the East River, in the study area. But maybe it also contributes toward further flooding elsewhere, which has been an issue we've talked about in general. We talked about that generally in terms of that elsewhere being the upland of energy, which I'm also concerned about.
I mean, that's a huge argument in favor of the soft landscape.
But I'm extending it further and said, yes, absolutely concerned about the upland. Right, but additionally, it has to impact the rest of the waters.
So I have a question about the water, this modified WAC, particularly as regards widths and heights and any kind of unified capital investment in a buried wall or in a seawall or whatever. All of that would somehow have to get mapped onto the private lots, right? I mean, the private lots right now extend to the water, correct?
Like, what do you mean in sense of?
Well, I mean, you talk about how most of the property up here, we know it, except for those city-owned sites, they extend to the water. So the waterfront access plan is essentially takes the form of restrictions on those private lots, development restrictions.
I'm not clear on the last part of the question.
Well, it's probably a cart and a horse question, because it seems to me like the waterfront access plan needs to be more clearly designed and defined before you could really rezone those lots with any clarity. So, because they're going to be essentially restrictions on the zoning of those lots. So I'm just wondering when this development of the water, when this updated proposed plan, in trouble with you, that's okay. When this updated waterfront plan is going to be, is going to be developed to a point that it can be incorporated in the zoning.
So the updated or modified WAP will move at the same time as like the full plan package. So approval of the proposal, like the draft zoning proposal that's been shared, will also include the approval of whatever proposed modified WAP as well. Like that will all be in the same package.
To follow up on this question, how does the developers know what to do about
that? The zoning won't change until the zoning will change with the WAP requirements. Like they will go. I feel like we're talking past each other.
I'm trying to, maybe I'm.
Well, maybe there's a concrete example would be the,
That's what I was thinking about, yeah.
which already has, there are already these work on, it's already, they already have a zoning. And if you're saying that the WAP is 20 feet, maybe at the time when they got their approvals, and now it becomes 40 feet, doesn't that impact the village?
I'm here now. Okay. So specifically for that property, 4402 Vernon, that property has a restricted declaration on it. So restricted declarations are like site-specific rules on what that site has to do and deliver on. And so they are actually, any public waterfront access that they build is actually not going to be to the WAP, it's going to be to this agreement from 1991. So restricted declarations are on all different kinds of properties. And that, for example, is a specific one where they will be building to the
What the width of that? Would it be more permissive than 40?
I do not have the details on the top of my head. I'm sorry, I can
But
definitely.
theoretically, that could be a very narrow part
Right,
of
but
this waterfront.
so the RD was before any sort of WAP requirement, so they aren't necessarily similar to one another. Like they aren't like based off of each other. But I can definitely get you the details on like how much open space or like what.
But assuming, let's say it is like 10 feet or something, then this whole waterfront would be 40, except there would be this 10-foot corridor, right?
What are they doing on that?
They're doing their best.
It's gonna fill with water. No, but seriously, what is this?
I'm serious, so that they're off the file. They're doing, they're very aware of the, what the community sites, sites are. It's been a very project. They've been filled with, this, this river return.
So basically, so they just basically are backfilling.
They just started to.
But there's nothing that would further restrict them. I mean, the fact that they have that, what you call restricted declaration, that wouldn't prevent them or exempt them from being part of it, from having the WAP requirements as well, or would it?
So as part of their development, they are aware that the study is coming around or it's the engagement. And so they've come to city planning. They also are a waterfront property and wanted to know how they could work with our one hour city plan to make sure that they don't have this study as 40 and then a 10-foot. Because
They also want.
I'm not sure about that, but what we do know that is the modified WAP would apply to their site as well.
It would.
Yeah.
So they would voluntarily recognize it.
I'm not sure voluntary, but they're recommended. And so it would be part of this like thread of like.
For me, they're gonna get upzoned, if they're gonna get upzoned. If they're gonna get upzoned, then they have to conform to the.
Even though they have this.
Absurd, yeah, I think that.
Think this the WAP, the WAP apply to the work all around that building.
As the current and modified building zones.
Like all the way around. So the
Yes,
green line.
the blue shaded parcels are what is included in the existing WAP.
And they will also be part of the proposed. Yes, we can clarify, but maybe I'm sorting out.
You know, our PTSD in the past. It's an Annabelle base, it's not just the east road. So
Yeah, it's
40 foot, we go all the way. Down.
Thank you for, but did the city thinking involved a bridge at the announcement? Yes.
I don't believe that it does. From what I've heard from our like climate resiliency team, that is something that requires a lot of approval that we don't have like our direct control over. I don't have any more details to add, so I'm going to stop speaking there, but
I do want to add that one of the things that it has come up in our conversations, and I think our CS had noted that there are some ecological issues when there is a great across the Annabelle Basin. So we can dig further, but I remember that line because I thought that's a bit contrary to what we've heard us also from the community and, you know, folks who have, I'm sorry, abatement, who want to see wildlife, who want to see that. So anyway, you can follow up on details on this, but I just remember specifically thinking it was connected.
I just had a number of them, but some of the ideas for bridge though were not, we're still in line with wildlife. They're quite pedestrian bridge. Not a vehicle, but like, I mean, I've gone into, you know, places, the Florida Keys where there are walkways and bridges. Yeah. Yes, it is the LIC.
It's in the LIC.
It's those green ones.
Okay.
Well, I think we're not going to, some of the way that this, I'm not sure if we can more than the palette and building as a stop work over because they can do the innovation.
Wow.
Wait, I'm sorry, the Paragon building, that's a stop because what?
Demolition.
Because they're demoing the better part.
To my eye, they appear to be definitely the USA. Side methods into bringing that on the base.
Yeah, because that's on it.
We're excited to, so I'm gonna promote our workshop on the 29th because these are questions that we'd like to answer at the workshop. So I hope everyone comes to make it clear to themselves. And we'll prepare answers, follow-ups. The next session that we have with you guys is on
public realm. There's also a request for us to talk about the IBZ and its relationship to the surrounding area. And then we start to kind of discuss street mapping since it's a complex topic, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page. I do have a question. Christine, I think it was your request to talk about the IBC and its relationship to the surrounding area. Can you give me a little bit more guidance on what you'd like to discuss?
I'd like to, I mean, Kenny actually authored our, I think, some very good comments that we made about IBC, so I think it's what would you like to discuss?
Well, I think yeah, I mean, the one thing we'd like to see is the dimensional development.
Yeah. The IBC.
Yeah, because my take on it is still being I would say not certainly that there's going to be disrupted. I think it's purely because of the speculation and the value.
Well, and I would, put on top of that, you know, there's a stated goal to preserve the IBC and to somehow have businesses and, you know, an industry, light industry, like this, coexist with housing to create this, to maintain this mixed use community, but, obviously, if you have more and more people living there, you have more and more traffic. It's, you know, it becomes more and more difficult for businesses to achieve the, what they need to in terms of freight and goods movement and all of those things. So, I mean, as a topic, it's kind of, how does this, what's the reality of how this increase in residential density is going to affect those businesses? Apart from what Penny's talking about, I think that's more to do with redevelopment within this. There's a lot of time.
We have any examples of this, some areas where, I mean, successfully achieved by industrial with residential, because, and then.
It's successful also to find.
Industrial and preserving some of what's there.
Right, because that's what I was going to say, you can define success in terms of, you know, the capital growth and how much money is being made, because that's how I would like to define success in terms of not only the existing.
Including things that are on the other side. And I say that because I know there are some proposals out there in the world to
do other things with the. But in the meantime, if it's upzoned too much, it's right on the other side of the bridge, in the Queensbridge. So is it creating more of a unifier? Or is it going to be overshadowed? 40-foot tall Queensbridge, bridge, Queensbridge.
Not only that, but just the affordability of the business opportunities. I just simply do not buy this argument that maybe more than bring costs down. It just
There hasn't, that's the.
there's no example of that.
I'm just gonna say it once again, speak loud towards the television. Just that the Zoomers are not feeling the love.
Sorry.
So I think we do need to wrap the time, but we really appreciate your, taking this.
Coming back. Coming back. See you next month.
And dedicating my apologies. I get, the plan thing is just for me, when, especially when it comes to this development things, if they're done. And not always we will still in the, but that's right.
That is absolutely right.
I hope so. That's great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And I really. Anything else? Oh, no.
All right.